Hey everybody, welcome back. All right, so the skidoos are done and we're getting back to our roots. So we're working on a wedge at this point. All right, so what we have in the garage, this is a 1991 Indy 500 with about 4,900 miles on it with reverse. For the most part, it's in pretty good shape. The hood's good, there's no cracks on it. Nose cone's in good shape. It's got plastic skis. Track's in good shape. The seat's in real good shape. The only thing really wrong is there's a crack in the tank cover. But I'll show you why it's in here. And we have an engine issue. So I've already gone ahead and removed the engine at this point. It's over on the bench. So why don't we go ahead and walk over there and show you what the issue is and what the plan is. All right, so we have the Fuji 500 on the bench. These engines are actually pretty good. They're not completely bulletproof, but they're pretty damn close. So what has happened with this engine, we've had a complete failure of the PTO bearing. And so we're gonna pull the case apart and do a complete tear down. And the intent is to see if we can just replace the bearing on that crank, but you never know what you get until we pull it apart. So we're gonna do a walkthrough of the teardown of a Fuji 500. I've done other engines on my channel, but I don't think I've ever done a 500. So that being said, let's get you in the tripod and let's get to work. All right, so I'm gonna go after all the big stuff first. I'm gonna take the recoil cover off, take the Y pipe off, and I believe these are 12s. Yes, they are. All right, so what we'll do now is we're gonna take the cup off the starter recoil, which will allow us to take the belt off, and then we'll be able to take the water pump off. These are 10. Now that the cup and the belt is off, we're gonna go after the water pump. I believe these are 13s. All right, so water pump comes off. All right, so now we're gonna take the thermostat neck off. And these are just held on like 10s. Realistically, you really don't need to take it off. Actually, it will come off with the head, but I like to take it off just to take a look at the gasket. So there you go. That's why you take it off. no gasket. Somebody just siliconed it, which is kind of a big no-no, and it never solidified, so it's just this bluey goo. So yeah, we're gonna put a new gasket on that. All right, so now we're gonna take the head off, and the head is just held on by 12mm nuts on studs. With the nuts removed, now we can go ahead and take the head off. And then we're just going to take a Ted blow, and you're just going to tap it from the neck. It should come right off. Take a little wedge. Don't put anything metal in between there, because all you can do is you're just going to mark the surface and just work your way around it. And break the gasket. There you go. Head actually looks pretty good. No pitting, no dings in it. So put this to the side. All right, so we gotta take the flywheel off, and the first thing I gotta do is gotta remove this 22mm nut. All right, so the next step in getting the flywheel off, you need to use a puller like this. This one is made by SLP. It's about $100. If you're doing work like this is actually paramount in getting this thing off. You can go to Harbor Freight and buy those 3-jaw harmonic balancer pullers. They don't work. You have to use something like this. So again, it's $100. So what you want to do is you're going to take some bolts, which are going to correspond with the thread pitch on the flywheel. And all we're going to do is just going to screw them in. Make sure we put a washer on. Once you have your puller mounted, just take a 1/2-inch impact or something to that effect and just go at it, and you're going to be amazed how quickly and easily this thing's going to come off. There you go. 5 minutes, comes right off. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the stator off, and the stator is held on by two screws, right? So there's one right here, there's one right here, and make sure you're using the right screwdriver on it. So on this one, you want to use, your big tip. I think it's a number 3, and make sure you use the right one. If you use the smaller one, you're gonna strip it. So what we have to do now to remove the stator, we gotta remove the rubber grommet to pass the wires through, and then you just take a screwdriver and just lift this out of the casing. There you go, stator's removed. All right, so at this point, we're gonna go ahead and remove the 14mm nuts that are holding the cylinder down to the case. And I just use this little long offset wrench, box wrench. All right, so I apologize. I thought I hit the record button as I was taking the cylinder off, and I never did, and I just realized it, so apologize for that. But the cylinder's off, looks pretty good, no surprises. And the way it's held on there is there's a bunch of studs going into the case. So we had 2 studs actually come out. We had a nut that was stripped, so I actually had to cut the nut off to get the cylinder off, and now I'm trying to get the bad stud out, and we'll come back at that at a later point. But at this point, I just want to split the case, and pistons that have been removed from the connecting rods, those actually look pretty good. Needle bearings feel pretty good. So at this point, we just need to separate the mount from the case. All right, so we're gonna remove the mounting plate from the bottom of the case, and these are just held on by 16 mils. All right, so the plate's been removed. Now we're just gonna remove the oil pump and just held on by a couple screws. Take that out. See if there's any shims or washers in the case, like that. So what that is for, that is actually, it sets the pinion depth on the gear of the oil pump to the drive off the crankshaft. So you want to keep those intact. Make sure you get the right pinion angle set or pinion depth. And then you take the oil drive out and then set that aside. So now we're going to remove the case bolts, and the inner ones are all 12s, and we got a couple 13s on the sides. So we're going to go ahead and remove all these. Then the 2 outers are 14s. Let's go to remove those as well. So now we're going to look around, make sure we didn't miss anything, and I'm pretty sure we're good. We don't need to remove those because those are just the drains for the fuel. All right, and that should be it. All right, so I've been working on separating this case, and I've been going around, and I'm trying to avoid jamming a screwdriver in here to separate it, because then you always have a chance of messing up the surfaces. So what I've been doing is I've just been taking a screwdriver and just hitting against various surfaces that I know are not going to affect anything, and I've managed to get it to start to separate at this point. It's getting pretty close. All right, so we finally got the cases apart, and what happened was, and I kind of noticed it when I was taking the bolts off, I really didn't put, one and one together. I had a broken case bolt, and very strange. I've never seen that happen before. And so what was going on, the one part of the case couldn't clear that bolt. It was just very tight. So I had to get a crowbar underneath it to kind of separate it. But luckily, the bolt comes right out, so really no harm. So be able to overcome that pretty quickly. But the other side of the case looks pretty good, and got the crank out, and all the bearings sound pretty good, with the exception of that one, which we knew was bad. And that one's a little bit noisy, but you know what? I know this bearing is available from Polaris. I'm not sure on this one with the locating snap ring on it. Pretty sure it is. But well, we're definitely going to replace that one, and we're going to look for that one. And then we'll get a gasket kit. We're going to clean everything up, get some intake boots, and slap this thing back together. So in the next video, once I have the bearings, I'll show you how I'm going to remove that. Just using a normal bearing splitter and a shop press. That should come off pretty easy. That's one of the easier ones to do. And we'll go ahead, clean everything up, reassemble it, and get it back in the sled. All right, if there's any questions, thoughts, concerns, go leave them in the comments box. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.